Today our topic of discussion will be anatomy of tympanic membrane. Dimensions of tympanic membrane. It is 9 to 10 mm in height, 8 to 10 mm in width and 0.1 mm in thickness. Position. Tympanic membrane is located in between the external auditory canal and the middle ear. It is oblique in position and lies at an angle of 55 degrees with the floor, that is with the deep external auditory canal. Let us move on to the parts of the tympanic membrane. There are two parts, pars tensa and pars flaccida. Now why is pars tensa known so? It is because it is tense due to the presence of the handle of malleus. The fibers radiate from the handle of malleus and making it tense. This is the first reason. The second reason is that it has a prominent fibrous layer within it. Hence it is tense. Now let us see few landmarks of the tympanic membrane. Annulus tympanicus. This is the annulus tympanicus. The tympanic membrane gets thickened in the periphery to form the annulus tympanicus, which sits on the tympanic sulcus. It is a fibrocartilaginous ring. Umbo. Umbo is that part of the tympanic membrane which lies along the tip of the malleus. Cone of light. The cone of light is the light reflected along the umbo on the periphery. Now this is the lateral process of the malleus. This is the handle of the malleus which is inwards. This part faces inwards. This is the lateral process of the malleus. This is the pars flaccida. Now which is the pars flaccida? Pars flaccida is that area of the tympanic membrane which lies just above the lateral process of malleus in between the anterior and the posterior malleolar fold. Now why is pars flaccida named so? Pars flaccida is flaccid in nature due to the absence of the fibrous layer, middle fibrous layer. It is pink in color. Structure. The structure of the tympanic membrane has a speciality in that it is derived from three germ layers. It has the outer epithelial layer which is derived from the ectoderm, middle fibrous layer which is derived from the mesoderm, and the inner mucosal layer which is derived from the endoderm. So the outer epithelial layer is continuous with the skin of the external auditory canal. The inner mucosal layer is continuous with the mucosa of the middle ear. The middle fibrous layer consists of three different fibers: radial fibers, circular fibers and parabolic fibers. Now I'll show a brief schematic diagram. The radial fibers will radiate from the handle of the malleus, especially the umbo. The inner circular fibers will be in this fashion. The radial fibers are seen along the outer layer, along the outer side, and the inner circular layers, the circular fibers are seen along the inner side, and the parabolic fibers in between. Now let us speak about few features of tympanic membrane. The color of the tympanic membrane is pearly gray. It is mobile. The mobility is usually checked by Valsalva maneuver and with the help of Schiegel's speculum. The various quadrants of the tympanic membrane are anterioinferior quadrant, anterosuperior quadrant, posteroinferior quadrant and posterosuperior quadrant. Now how do we divide the quadrants? You have to draw a line through the handle of the malleus and the other line through the umbo, and this is the anteroinferior, anterosuperior, posterior-inferior and posterior-superior quadrant. Now always remember that the cone of the light will lie along the anteroinferior quadrant. This is how you know which is the quadrant. Now let us move on to the nerve supply of the tympanic membrane. The lateral surface of the tympanic membrane is supplied anteriorly by the auriculotemporal nerve and posteriorly by auricular branch of the vagus nerve, that is the Arnold's nerve. The medial surface of the tympanic membrane is supplied by the Jacobson's nerve, which is the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. So now you know the lateral surface has its own nerve supply, the medial surface has its own nerve supply. Arterial supply. The lateral surface of the tympanic membrane is supplied by deep auricular branch of the maxillary artery, and the medial surface is supplied by anterior tympanic branch of the maxillary artery and posterior tympanic branch of the post-auricular artery. Now you have to just know a brief, you just need to have a brief knowledge of the development of tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane develops from the tubotympanic recess, the first ectodermal cleft and the mesoderm in between, giving rise to the three different layers. Thank you.